What's up, everybody? I'm HoopsandHipHop, and before we get started today, I actually have an announcement I have to make. Unfortunately, I have some bad news regarding the channel to share. If you guys have followed me on Twitter and Instagram, which if you haven't yet, I definitely would recommend doing so. The links to those are in the description. You would know that my identity, aka my hat, earlier this week fell in battle and was torn. Given that this hat is such an iconic part of the channel, I couldn't just live without it, so I had to order a new one. But I also wanted to memorialize it in this video and thank it for all the service that it has given us over the years. Now please, if you would join me in a moment of silence, we can all wish for the blessings and the prosperity of this hat and the future of this channel. So if you've been a Pokemon fan for any length of time, you've probably heard some of your fellow Pokemon fans voice their opinions about things they want to see from the games, the anime, etc. Fans have requested some pretty interesting things over the years, but not all of them are necessarily realistic. In fact, there are some things that fans have requested that just most likely will never happen, but they keep asking for it anyway. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at just that type of thing. These particular requests, while they all would be pretty cool, are just not going to happen in all likelihood for a number of reasons, so why don't we just go ahead and dive right in and find out what those reasons are. Alright, so the first feature or request that we're going to be talking about here is a more infamous one that people tend to bring up every now and then, and that would be the desire to have a new protagonist in the anime to replace Ash. Now, whether you like Ash or not, it's very easy to see why this request is actually a thing, because Ash has kind of tended to let us down over the years, and it's been 20 years of disappointment that a lot of fans just can't take anymore. Now, obviously, him winning every league he goes into isn't the only requirement we have of him, because he obviously has a lot of character and he has been a lovable and recognizable character for a long time. However, the idea of having a new protagonist to give some new life into the Pokemon anime seems very enticing. However, this is never ever going to happen, at least in the main series, for one very important reason. If you were not aware, Ash Ketchum is actually based on Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of Pokemon. In fact, his name in Japanese is Satoshi. So I highly doubt they would keep the main Pokemon anime going after replacing a character that is created after the creator of Pokemon himself. Like, Ash is essentially the very lifeblood of where Pokemon came from and what it represents, and he is the very literal personification of the creator of Pokemon in the world of Pokemon, so unfortunately, I don't think Ash is going anywhere in the main anime series anytime soon. Next up is another classic Pokemon argument, and that is the desire to have a Pokemon game at some point in the future where you can travel to every single region that is available at that time. Now, whether or not this could actually work has been a hot topic of debate amongst Pokemon fans for years, and I personally have advocated in the past that this could actually work, and I actually came up with my own idea for how it could work. If you're interested in that, you can click the iCard at the top of the screen. However, since it is such a tricky subject, I decided I needed to argue for the other side of this argument as well, and take a look at things from a different angle and explain why this actually, as cool as it would be, is probably never going to happen. Trying to figure out how to make the game flow properly where you can travel to every region would be a monumental task to overcome. And obviously the amount of content they would have to pack in the game, having every region at this point 7, next year it's going to be 8, where you've got towns, routes, cities, character Pokemon, landscapes, 3D models for the buildings. You've got so much content to pack into one game for this idea to actually happen. And like I said, you've got to basically overcome the current structure of the Pokemon series, where you essentially are moving throughout the game, battling each gym leader and then eventually becoming the champion, whereas in this type of game, you basically would be moving throughout the game, traveling from region to region, which obviously kind of conflicts with doing the gym challenge in any one given region. So overall, it's a very complicated sort of situation. So as much as I would really like to see this happen at some point, and I do believe if they gave it enough time and effort and focus, they could pull it off, I really most likely don't see this happening at least any time in the near future. Another request that is a more recent one that I personally just do not see happening, even though it would be really cool, is having regional variant Pokemon for other regions in the future outside of Alola. Now, from a Pokemon world perspective, it makes all the sense in the world to continue this feature in future games, because it wouldn't really make sense for Pokemon to change their form and kind of change the way they live based on the area they're living in only in Alola. It's not like Alola is that unique of a place where it could only happen there, so it makes a lot of sense for that naturally to happen everywhere in the Pokemon world, or at least in a lot of different places. However, there are a couple reasons why I believe this is most likely not going to happen, the first of which has to do with Game Freak's notorious trend of making features unique to one specific game only. I've mentioned it before on the channel, but Game Freak has a notorious habit of introducing cool features, but then never using them again and keeping them unique to the game that they were introduced in, so people have a reason to go back and play those games. On top of this, I just don't think Game Freak would take the effort to maintain an older feature like this and update it with new Pokemon when they have so many other new things to introduce in their newer Pokemon games, like new regions, new characters, new Pokemon, new features of those particular games, so I just don't feel like Game Freak is going to do this in the future, but I hope I'm wrong. Another highly desired feature that somewhat relates to the idea of a Pokemon game with every single region is the idea that we need to have an open world Pokemon game. As open world games have gotten more and more popular over the last several years, it has become increasingly desired amongst many of Pokemon's fans to have an open world Pokemon game that operates very much similar to the way that the anime does, where you're able to seamlessly go between routes and cities. The cities are huge with many streets and avenues to explore. The routes are big and robust and don't really have any framework or guidelines to them like they do in the current Pokemon games, and overall just a completely seamless experience. However, while I do believe that Pokemon games are going to get more seamless as time goes on and as the technology improves, I don't think we're going to see a big open world game in the traditional sense for a number of different reasons. First off, as it goes hand in hand with the idea of a Pokemon game with every region, it just would be a huge task to overcome in terms of rewriting how the Pokemon games work. The Pokemon games have always kind of had a sort of path, if you will, where they're not necessarily linear, but like I said, there are guidelines on all of the different areas, routes, towns, cities, etc. that kind of keep you going in the right direction and don't let you go too far off of the beaten path. And when it comes to Pokemon games, the idea is that you can obviously go off of the beaten path. So in a Pokemon game in particular, what are you going to put in these areas? It's not like Pokemon is a hardcore fantasy franchise like Skyrim or Zelda, where there's just tons of landscape to explore and you're this rugged swordsman who is going and trekking throughout the mountains. Yes, Pokemon games are about exploring and traveling, but I don't think you're realistically going to be trekking over rivers and climbing up mountains as a 12-year-old kid with your backpack on. I know it happens in the anime, but that's really just kind of like for cinematic effect. And finally, the last point we're going to be talking about here is a point that's been talked about fairly decently on the channel as well as in other circles of the Pokemon community, and that's the idea of Mega Evolutions making a return. Mega Evolution is obviously very popular, and there's really no other reason to go into any further detail than that. It's been talked about a lot, and it's very easy to see why it's very popular. And while it would be amazing to see Mega Evolution make a triumphant return and add new Megas to previously evolved Pokemon, I just don't think it's gonna happen because I feel like it goes against Game Freak's philosophy in terms of where we are right now with the Pokemon franchise. This is a very similar situation to the regional variant point I was talking about earlier, where Mega Evolution was a key feature in Generation 6, and obviously that is the feature of Generation 6 that Game Freak sort of wanted to keep exclusive to Generation 6. Even though we do have Mega Evolution featured in the subsequent games after X and Y, we haven't seen any new Megas introduced, and it's basically been relegated to a post-game feature. And I believe that's the way it's going to stay for one really specific reason. I feel like if Mega Evolution was going to be a thing, it would have continued to be a thing in Generation 7, even if it was only 1 or 2 new Megas. However, because that didn't happen, I just see it as very unlikely that we will see any in Generation 8 or further down the road, just because I don't feel like Game Freak would have it go on a hiatus and then bring it back given their track history. But that's just the way that I personally see it at this current time. And there we have it, everybody. Now, if you personally want to see one of these features happen at some point in the future, I don't mean to dash your hopes, because I personally would love to see a Pokemon game with every region. It just seems that sometimes us fans can get a little out of hand in terms of what we want to see from Game Freak, and I just thought it would be fun to take a little closer look at some of these ideas. If you guys enjoyed the video though, be sure to give it a like because it really helps out, and leave a comment below telling me what you think about these features, if you think they'll actually happen, or if there's another feature out there that you'd really like to happen, or if there's just one that you think people want that just isn't gonna happen. Just let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new for more Pokemon content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And if you like Pokemon music, give me a follow over on Spotify because I got a bunch of my remixes over there. And we're going to be giving away a copy of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee when they come out if you follow and we hit the follower goal of 1,500 followers, which we're actually fairly close to, so not that much farther away to go. With all that being said though, I will be back on Tuesday for another video. I hope to see you guys then. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you can know when it goes live. And until then, as always, I will smell you guys later.